Right. Morning, folks. How are you? Yes. If you don't know me, I'm Bernard, leading AgriOS at Advanced Insights. I'm not going to talk much at all because you're here for the demo, and Dow is going to take care of that. Basic housekeeping. Stay muted until the Q&A. You can ask questions in the chat bar until the Q&A section, a little after half an hour. So dig in there. I'm presuming most of you know the background already. If you don't, check out our LinkedIn. Latest update from our side is that AgriOS is now open source and on GitHub. So if anybody wants to play about with it, there is the link. So yeah, I'm always up for a chat, regardless of how you might want to use, modify, or monetize AgriOS. That's it for me. I'll hand you over now to Dawa. Over to you, Dawa.
Thank you very much. First check, can everybody see my screen? Great.
Yep.
Yeah, Bernard asked me to give a really nice walkthrough of AgriOS today. And essentially what I want to do is I'm going to run you through a coffee sale. So we're going to mimic a Kenyan coffee exporter that buys coffee from farmers and exports the coffee, and essentially run through that whole flow and show you how everything works, what it can do. I think what's also very important to note here is that the database I'm using here essentially took me maybe 1 or 2 hours to set it up. A lot of the elements, they are in the standard setup that we have that we can very easily deploy. So this is essentially a very basic setup that's very easy to set up and that you can already use for a lot of different things. Let's dive in. So this is the AgriOS database. We log in. And then we come directly in one of the apps of Odoo. It's the Discuss app. It's not the most relevant, so I want to go to the menu here. And here you will see everything that I have available on this database. So these are all the different modules, different apps that are here. And as said, let's run through a complete flow. I'm going to start with some CRM because I have a new lead. And I have a new lead from a big coffee buyer. And this coffee buyer, he wants to buy a lot of coffee. So let me just put in a few million shillings. This is a very simple, basic CRM setup. So I have my coffee buyer here. I can give it some nice stars. It's a priority. I had a call with him. I move him to qualified. Then I had another call with him and I log a note, interested in coffee. And what I can then also do easily is add an activity. So I said a to-do is create proposal. And I schedule this proposal for myself. So I know I need to create this proposal. And let's say I make a nice proposal, send it to him. And then in the end, I say, hey, I won this lead. It's a very quick flow. This is very fast sales cycle, but we close this lead. We've closed the lead and we go to a new quotation. So what you see here directly, I clicked a button and automatically I have a new quotation in here with the customer. And I can have all these different settings here, but I'm selling my coffee in USD. So on this customer, let me briefly go to the customer. I have before specified my sales details with the customer, so the payment terms, payment method, and the price list. I go back to my sales. Where is my quotation? It is. Let me grab this one. So I'm going to sell green coffee to this customer, and let's make it 10,000 kgs of green coffee. I'll save this. And I'm going to sell this at 7 USD. So I start here with essentially, well, let's make it 10 because this is quite a lot. So where I start here is I have my buyer. I made a proposal for them and I can even send this to them. So I can click here to show you. So here I have the proposal that I can send that they can then use, that they can approve. Let me go back 1 second. Back. And what you also see here is I have my product, but I also have this small red symbol here. This means that I don't have 10,000 kgs of green coffee in stock. This client, we've sent the whole proposal, they really like the deal and they want to buy it. So I confirm. What you also already see down here, which is very interesting, is it shows us the margin or the expected margin that we're going to make on this. So I've been using this database for a while. So the system knows what the cost generally for green coffee is. So it already can tell me here, if the price stays the same of what it has been, we'll make around 10% margin on this sale. When I confirmed this sale order just now, I also created automatically a delivery that's here. So I can go at the top and I can essentially see directly here that I need to deliver the coffee to the big buyer, the delivery order from a warehouse location that I have. And now I want to ship it and I want to check it, but I don't have stock on hand. So I don't have, let me just go here. So my stock is not available. So I need to buy some coffee. However, we don't buy green coffee. We buy coffee cherries, and also we don't have them ourselves. We buy those from farmers. So I start my farmer sourcing and I go to the farmers module. In the farmers module, I have a lot of options, but where I would like to start is my farmer leads. So these are farmers that I have spoken to or they're part of my network, but they're not yet validated to buy from. So I'll go into Beatrice. And what we'll see here are all the details from Beatrice. So as part of your field operations or the data that you already have, you can log all the details here for all your different farmers. So we can set in all the address details, the country, phone numbers, mobile numbers. We can have farmer groups. We can set managers. So let me say that I'm also the farm manager of this person. They're part of the Moja farmer group. I can also select the Kilivi sub-county. I can add all the different ID numbers. I can, let me go also here. I can set farm details. So in this case, what I want to do with this is I want to buy coffee cherries from this farmer. So essentially here I can track everything that I want to track for this farmer. So what I can also do is I can create plots for this farmer. So what I can do is I can create a plot. I get my map view and this farmer just said it's in Kilifi. Let's go somewhere near the coast. And we go here. And of course you can do this with Kobo Toolbox or anything that you have. You can import this data. So you not often create it here, but I just want to show you how it works. So essentially we can just map out the plot of this farmer, finish. And what you also see that automatically it calculates the number of acres on this plot. And I'll save it. But here I have another one for this is a farm that we registered before, for example, with Kobo Toolbox. So we went to the field and we registered. But what I see here is this is a really weird plot. So I can go in here and I can say, let's just move this one a bit here and this a bit here. So this is the normal plot. And I'll save it. Let me go. Sorry, that was wrong. So I need to change this like this and I save. You also see that when I changed it within the boundaries, the plot size automatically changed. In the future, we also have plans to connect this with, for example, EUDR. So that you can really connect these polygons, these plots with all the EUDR data with certification. And what you also see is that here, this farmer has a total plot of 32, almost 32. Now everything is okay, and then I want to buy from this farmer. So essentially what I do is I say, hey, I want to verify this farmer. Click and verify. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. And now if I go to the farmer's menu, go to the top, I now see that Beatrice is here. So they're now a farmer that I can buy and I can source from. Let me just check my list. So what I now want to do is I want to have a contract with this farmer. So I'm here at the at the farmer. I go to contracts and I say new. And that already, it picks a lot of data from this. So it already picks the name of the farmer. And because the farmer has only one crop set on their cart, it automatically already pulls that crop. And it also already pulls the total acreage that the farmer has. For this farmer, we're not going to source for all the acreage. So we're going to work with 20 acreage from this farmer. Let me save it here. And we're going to pick the season. So this is for the 2025 season. What you also see here is that the 20 acres already translates in 60,000 offtake quantity. And this is set. So let me take a small detour to the product settings. So here we have the coffee cherries, which is a product that we can purchase. I won't go to this in a lot of detail, but we can put all the settings here, but also we can track this by lot. So essentially we have built-in traceability. Show a little bit of that later. But by using Odoo, essentially you have built-in traceability for your whole value chain. Here we have the cost, the running cost of this product. And we have farming details. So we specified this is a crop, it's a perennial crop. And here we set the estimated yield per acre. So because we selected 20 acres on the contract, it automatically calculated like the estimated yield is then 60,000 kgs of coffee berries. And this farmer that uses this product generally needs inputs, and then it needs NPK fertilizer for coffee. Going back to the contract. So I check everything. Is it all okay? Let me just change the price a little bit. So this farmer and the season has changed. So let's set the price at 140. And that means that the total expected value of this purchase is 8.4 million. Say, and I confirm. Yes, I want to confirm. And now I have a running contract with this farmer. So I can do now quite a lot of things also with this farmer. So if I go back to the farmer, to Beatrice, I can, for example, log interactions. So I can create a new interaction, and I visited the farmer, and this was a visit, and check the field, all okay. And then also I made a picture of the field, documents. So I attached the picture that results in a server error. Oh, there it was, sorry. It was just showing. Second, I know what this is happening. So I have a small issue on my demo database that always happens during webinars. So normally you nicely attach the picture here. Let me quickly try if I can add it here. Oh, okay, this is a new one. Normally this happens really nicely. I'm just gonna check one quick thing if I can show you here because I'm running in a app. Give me 1 second. It is nice to see. Yep. So I'm running this in an app. So here we have a normal, it's the same, but then normally in the URL. So I added the image here. So you have now this nice log. I visited the farmer, all the information is here. And I've nicely added this picture of the field of the farmer. So I can really use that to essentially build my whole relationship with the farmer. What I can also do is I can manage the certifications, for example, for this farmer. So I can create all these different certification types with the end date, with the numbers, with scoring, with corrective measures, everything to manage my farmers. I can also set up trainings. So let me go. We have a separate module for that. We have the training module. And let's say this farmer needed a training. So let's say it's a farming training. And the date is tomorrow. Let's say it was yesterday. And the training was done by John. And it was done and I then want to add these 3 farmers who were all on my training, and I put them in here. I update everything and I mark it as done. So I can build all my training logs here. I can attach documents, I can give notes, and then I can connect them to the farmers. So if I go back to the farmer, Beatrice, we now also have the training here in the list so that we can easily see, hey, this farmer Beatrice, she attended the farming training by John on the 17th of December. Now if you got the training, we have the contract. Now she needs some input. She needs some fertilizer from us. So we have the farmer and we can go here to order inputs. And let me go back. Let me do it from the contract a bit nicer. So we run it from the contract and we say order inputs. And what you see here is that, again, I have all the data. I have the customer, farmer, I have the contract, and I already have 20 kgs of NPK. Because in the setting, I said for every acre that a farmer has, they need 1 bag of NPK. So the system recognizes that and it proposes that, hey, if this farmer works with you and they have 20 acres, they need 20 bags. But it's a little bit lot, so I can still change it. And also what I want to do, I want to sell something else to this farmer. So I also want to sell a, let me see, where do I have it? Is the, let's sell a coffee harvest training. So it's a small extra training that we offer to farmers. They pay 500 for it. And then they can also join this training. But this farmer, they're part of our outgrower scheme, and we don't ask them to pay directly for everything. So we essentially give them these inputs on credit. So what we do here is we say it's a payment in kind. So what this enables us to do is later on, when we buy from this farmer, is that we can essentially say, hey, we need to pay you, but let's first deduct what we delivered to you, and then we pay you the balance. So this all looks good, and I confirm. And now when I confirm the sale order, it automatically a delivery was created. So I go in here. So I have this delivery, and I can also do it from another way. So I can go to my inventory module. And this also really shows the integration of Odoo. So I can go to my farmer, the sale order, and get to the delivery. So everything is connected and integrated. But if I'm, for example, a inventory user, so my only role is managing the warehouse, I only have access to the inventory app. So then I don't go through the farmer, the contract, I go straight into inventory. Let me hit group by warehouses. And then here I have my 16 delivery orders that I need to deliver. And then I need to find the one for Beatrice. Where do we have it? Is it in another one? Second. Let me go through the still. So we have the input orders, delivery, and we can check the availability here. I don't have NPK on stock, but I do. So I go to the warehouse and I see, hey, I still have a stack of 50 kgs NPK. So that's a bit weird. So what I can do is I can go into my inventory and go into my physical inventory, and I look for NPK there. So I'll create a new line. I do a stock count essentially. So let's say I have 100 kgs of NPK. Apply. So now I did a stock count and I have the stock. So I go back to my farmer. Sorry. Back to my farmer and my input order and my delivery. So I check the availability. Hey, now I have the stock. So I counted, I updated everything. I have the 16. So I'm sending this out. I validate it. Oh, I need to select a lot. I go in here and I select this one. And where is my lot? Let me check. Second. There. Sorry, my demo is, of course, giving me a headache today. I need to supply a lot, but I cannot supply the lot here. Let me put this differently. Just remove that. Sorry, it's always with webinars. Anyway, I need to stop this step. So apologies. Normally we do the delivery, and what happens is we deliver the products here to the person. Let me just try to create a new thing here. I need to select a new product. Let me just do bananas. Just for the sake of the argument, I'm gonna do some bananas here. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna confirm it. And I'm gonna do the delivery here. I'm gonna force it. And then well, validate it. So now I've sent it to, I delivered it. And now I have this button here, which is create invoice. Regular invoice. So now I have this invoice. So I made a sale of fertilizers or bananas, and I delivered it from my warehouse. So it moved out of my warehouse. It was removed, was sent to the customer. And now I'm making a sale to the customer to capture that. So let me put this on input sales. And I also want this to be on input sales. So here you also see everything is directly connected with accounting. So I went from a sales process, or maybe even in the beginning already, I went from a CRM to a sales process. I went to an inventory process, and now I'm in a finance process. You also see here that this invoice is connected to the sale order. So again, everything is integrated. And well, let me just book this. So now I sold essentially the inputs to the farmer. I go back to my farmer, go back to Beatrice. So Beatrice is now essentially doing the farm, the coffee, everything is happening. And let me just go here. Then after a few months, I know the coffee is ready, or she gives me a call and I can come and collect the coffee berries. So what I'll do at that time is I go to the contract or the farmer. You can do it in both ways. And I say mark ready for harvest. So now this contract, this agreement with the farmer is defined as it can be harvested. And it doesn't need to be harvested immediately. So this is also a way for field teams to really know, hey, we can go out and harvest. So then when we're going out, we go to offtake, and it creates an RFQ directly from all the details. And again, it pulls all the data. So it pulls everything that we set on contract. But yeah, the market price changed a little bit. So unfortunately, I have to pay Beatrice a little bit more because otherwise she's not willing to sell to me. So even that I agree the price on the contract, sometimes things change. That's reality. And then we change the unit price. So I confirm this one. And then what I see is that I automatically get the receipt here. So automatically a receipt is created for me to check, to receive. And this receipt also has an inspection. So I can go over here at the top. So this is a quality control step. So when the receipt was created, an inspection record was created. And I can go in there. And what you see here is all the different details. And there are two important questions that I, as a receiving user, need to answer. And that is, what's the overall quality? The overall quality is good, success. And what's the size of the beans? Let's say it's 2. And this is within the valid values. So this is also success. These quality control checks, you can fully custom set up with all the different questions, different places, when you send out stock, when you receive stock, when you transfer stock, and I confirm. So this really also helps you to check things before they come in, before they go out. It's very clear who did the quality control, so you can always go back to it. And it really helps you to manage all your inventory transactions. So I go back, I did my inspection. I also see I have a done inspection, I have an okay inspection. And now I validate. I need to create a serial. I go in here. So this is, let me call Beatrice. And she delivered me in 2 lots. One of them is 30,000. And that's Beatrice 1. And then we have Beatrice 2, which is another 30,000. And this can also all be automated with like generating all the serials from larger lots. You can do it per bag. You can set it up however you want. Save it. And I validate. So I now go back to my purchase order, what I purchased from Beatrice. And what you now see is that I had 60,000 coffee cherries that were ordered or planned. I received 60,000 from her. This is, of course, very theoretical because it will never be 60,000. It will always be more or less. You can adjust that here. However, for the next step that I'm going to show you, I need exactly 60,000. So that's why I stuck to the 60,000. And then the last step is to create a bill for Beatrice. So I click here. And again, everything is picked automatically. The product, the account, the quantity, the price, everything is there. So I just set the bill date and I confirm. And now I have everything here. If I go back to the farmer and go here to Beatrice, then what I have here is I have one invoice. So essentially something I need to receive from her. And I have a vendor bill, which is something I need to pay to her. And what we can do here is we can go to this vendor bill and we can say pay. And what you see here is that because we said in the beginning, hey, this is an in-kind transaction, it shows here the deduction in kind. So what I first want is I want to just do that. So I say I'm paying her 0, but I am deducting the in kind. So I create a payment. And what you now see happened is that I needed to pay her this amount, but I deducted the sales that I did to her and I have the remaining balance. If I go back and I go to the invoice, you also see now that the invoice is nicely paid. So everything is now cleared. So the only thing, so instead of needing to receive something from the farmer, needing to pay something to the farmer, we netted that off. And now I only have something I need to pay to the farmer. And you go in here and I had an agreement with Beatrice that I make 2 payments. So I can make another payment. So I say I pay from bank and your payment, and I'm going to pay her 5 million now. Payment. And then I know this is the balance I have to pay them in a later time. So after all of this, I have now some stock of coffee. So I go into my inventory, I go into my my reporting, and I go into my stock. And let me seek for coffee. So what you see here now is that I have quite a lot, 66,000 on hand of coffee cherries. And also what you see here is that I have green coffee and I need to have 10,000 kgs of green coffee because remember, that's what I sold to my buyer in the Netherlands. But yeah, I only have cherries and I have green coffee. So I cannot do anything there. So what I do is I need to essentially convert my coffee cherries into green coffee. And the first thing I need to do is that conversion happens in my manufacturing location. So I go into manufacturing and what I did is I created a bill of material, show it briefly, green coffee. So essentially what I said here is if I want green coffee, 1 kg, I need 6 kgs of coffee cherries. And there's also an operation, a manufacturing operation. I won't go into all the details, but the most important part is essentially we can use this as a manufacturing, which is essentially a conversion. So I can use this to take my green coffee and take my coffee cherries and convert it in green coffee. And I'll do that through manufacturing order. So I go to new manufacturing order and I select the product that I want. I want green coffee. And what I want is I want 10,000 kgs because that's what I need to, that's 10, need to send to my buyer. And I'll save it. And what you see here automatically is that means I need 60,000 coffee cherries. And they are in my warehouse locations here, so it's nice and green. So for now, everything looks good. So I confirm. What I can also do here is I can quickly check the overview. So I can also see everything that's happening. Again, there's a lot of detail here, but this essentially shows you exactly how everything is built up and the cost and all of that. And what I'll now do, I'll create a new serial number, which is coffee 001. So that's the serial number I'm going to convert this to. And then I'm just going to say produce. There are a lot of possible steps in between also here. So you can work with different steps and have manufacturing and all those kinds of things. For the sake of this demo, I'm just doing the quick flow. So essentially what just happened is that I took 60,000 of coffee cherries and I converted them to 10,000 kgs of green coffee. So you can also see here then, for example, the product moves. So here, what is that the red ones is stock that has been removed, and the 10,000 is the new stock. What you also see is that this operated on a FIFO method. So apparently I still had 600 kgs of coffee cherries from Anita remaining. So it filled up with Beatrice. So I didn't use all the stock from Beatrice. I also used a little bit that was remaining from Anita. So you can also fully see I have this 10,000 kg of coffee. Where did it came from? I can even also go here into my traceability view. And I can essentially run the whole view of where everything came from. So I ended up with 10,000 kgs of coffee, but that came from a lot from Anita. But that lot from Anita was bought at some point. So I can even go in here. So this 600, that was coffee cherries, part of my green coffee now. And even go in here and I can see, okay, so this was 600 from Anita that was received yesterday. So essentially this is really the full traceability, that everything moves through the system and is connected. For example, you can, if you buy from farmers and then it goes to an intermediate location and a warehouse, all those different steps, they all connect together. And what you then see is that the final lot, so this lot serial, go in here, also has this traceability. So I can go in here. So for every lot that I end up with, I can exactly see where did the coffee come from and what happened to it and where was it created. The final thing that also what happened is the valuation. So what you essentially see here is that I removed 60,000 kgs of coffee cherries from my warehouse. And based on the price I paid for it, it had a value of 8.6 million. And it removed that, but then it added the 10,000 of green coffee with a total of 8.6. So essentially it converted this into this. And now the cost of the green coffee, so essentially in this structure, 1 kg of green coffee has a cost equal to 6 kgs of the berries. So this really helps you also in the whole costing structure. Then we can essentially, now let me first go into inventory. I go into inventory in stock. I'm going to have a look. So search for coffee. So now I see I have green coffee. I have 10,000 on hand and I have 10,000 ongoing. So this is a great match. And what I now can do is I can go to my sales. I can go to my big coffee buyer. And what you now see here is that also without me doing, just by running the system, it now automatically sees, hey, you now have the stock. You can now sell this to your coffee buyer. What you also see is that it updated the margin. So because I changed the price of coffee from 140 to 145, the cost of coffee in my system increased. But hey, I still can only charge the customer $7 per kg. So this means that my margin now reduced. So you see directly the effect of the purchasing of coffee, the change of the coffee price in your system on your margin on the sale order. Now I'm now going to deliver this. So again, here I have a delivery that's going out and I have a lot. So it picks automatically, it picks the lot that's available. If you would have multiple lots, you can also select exactly the lot you're shipping out. So in this case, Odoo suggests this, or because this is what we have. I have my inspection. There's no inspection on outgoing. That's really nice. Don't need to do that. So I validate and I go back to my sale order. And here, essentially the same as I had before. I had an order of 10,000. I delivered 10,000, but I invoiced 0. Hey, I need to invoice, regular invoice. And there we go. I just give it the date of today and I confirm. Essentially, that completes the cycle. And what you can also see, so again, this is fully integrated with accounting, and I'll show a bit of this after. But what happened here now is that, and this is a Kenya shilling database. So I sold in USD, but it converts everything to Kenya shilling because that is the database currency, is that my sales of coffee increased with 9 million. But also my cost of coffee increased with 8.6. So by running this whole flow in the system, I automatically have captured my cost of coffee. So the moment I essentially book the invoice, I know the cost. And this is, I think, very powerful because in a lot of systems and a lot of other places, you then sell and then you still have to figure out like, hey, how much have I made, or what was the cost, or what happened there? And here, this is essentially fully automated. So by selling, what I ended up with is I have 9,000 of coffee, and I have my 9 million of coffee sales, 8.6, and I have my receivable. So I need to receive 70,000 from this customer. And another one, what you see here is there's a stock interim delivered account, and I'll show that in a bit. So from here, we can quickly jump into accounting. And everything we just did is connected with accounting. And I won't go in too much detail, but all the accounting that you need is in here. But what I now mainly want to see is I want to see my P&L. So I have my P&L set up for 2025. So I click here. So what we now see here is the result of the trade that we just did. So we see here all the different amounts. But here we see the coffee sales. If I click on it, it contains the sale that I just made. And if I go to the cost of coffee, click on it, and you see the 8.6, the debit of 8.6 that was just realized. So I now know my gross margin, and this includes also other transactions. But everything I do then affects accounting directly. What it also shows are my input sales. So also the bananas, aka fertilizer, that I sold to my farmer is here. Yesterday, I made another sale of fertilizer to my farmer. And all of that directly goes into our P&L. There's also, of course, all the normal elements. You can book all your normal invoices, all your normal vendor bills, your payroll. You can put everything in there. And what we also have, of course, is our balance sheet. So we go in here. And here we have our full balance sheet in the system. And what I wanted to show, for example, so we have the, let me see, stock interim received account. So what happens, for example, in this account, and I think this is a nice example to look at, is when we received the coffee cherries from our farmer. So we received 8.7 million worth of coffee cherries. The system automatically made an entry where it increased our stock. So it increased our stock on our balance sheet with coffee worth 8.7. But we didn't yet create a bill or have a bill for the supplier. So it moved 8.7 to my stock interim received. This is all fully automated. And what happened here is that essentially on the balance sheet at that moment, I noticed that, hey, I have the stock, but I still need to receive the bill from my supplier. And then when I booked the vendor bill, this is the vendor bill, you remember it, I paid it with the in-kind. If I go here, when the client billed me, when I booked the vendor bill, it essentially took that amount and also put it in there. And then it removes the balance to my payables account. So all of these steps they all come together in the accounting setup, bringing everything together in one system. If I can go in here, I have all my detailed journal items, so I can see everything, bring everything together. And I think this, for now, concludes this first webinar, showing you how to run a whole flow in AgriOS. Again, I think I spent an hour, 2 hours on setting up this database. A lot of the elements we already have available. So we're currently also building these base setups where for new organizations using them, we don't have to set up everything. We pick a setup that we have created, we load it up, and essentially you start already with a lot of information, really making it simple to use this and to run this for your organization. I think we have some 15 minutes left, so maybe if there are some questions, we can do some questions.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Dawa. That was great and nice. Yeah, practical demonstration, including even that issue with the flaw that you had in there as well. Great
They're
stuff.
always there. A webinar is not complete without some issue.
That's the risk always of. That's how it's live anyway. That we're not fabricating at all. But yeah, we got a few questions already in the chat, and Miriam had one there around. I'm not sure when you asked this question, Miriam, but you mentioned there shouldn't the account change automatically? Do you want to unmute and give it a little context about that one? Unless Miriam went off to the next webinar. Maybe if you can give a bit of clarity in the question, if you're still there, Miriam. Yeah, do you see that one there from Simon? What if Beatrice had 2 different grades of cherries? Can that be set to 2 different prices in the same batch?
Yeah, so essentially what you can do in that flow, you can have a setup where you have different varieties. So for example, grade A, B, and C. And that you set your expectation. So essentially you expect 10,000 of grade C, but you also add grade B and A, and you can give them different rates. So at the moment of receipt, you can then say, hey, actually I received 8,000 of grade C, 1,000 of B, and 1,000 of A. And these can have different prices. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And then Will had a very solid question there. What's different about AgriOS and relative to Odoo? I would think that's a good one there. I think it's all centered around the smallholder at its core, I would suppose.
So one of the core elements is this, where's my mouse, is this farmer setup. So the whole farmer contract, it brings everything together. That's one. So we added a lot of modules and customizations focusing on smallholders, and we're building that out more and more. The second is the thought also we put in bringing everything together. So I think if you could do this yourself in a fully new Odoo setup, but you would have to figure everything out. And essentially what we're offering is the AgriOS modules with a also curated list of other open source modules that, if all brought together, streamline the whole setup. And then I think maybe even the most important aspect is the setup time. So essentially we're spending significant time in setting up already databases. We're working on databases like for coffee or for cocoa or for avocados, and that we set up the standard. We already set up a lot of information in there so that you don't need to start from scratch. And that essentially in a few hours you can be up and running, because you start from like a curated, standardized setup instead of setting everything up on your own server and installing everything and figuring everything out. But in the end, it is Odoo.
Yeah, so I think it's 1 or 2 points as well. It's hard to get set up within a ERP, especially within Odoo community, the open source side. We're just making it very easy to do that and open sourcing the entire thing. And 2 new additional functionalities, I think that would be quite interesting and not part of the community standard is we're fleshing out an AI kind of systems health check to make sure that you're actually using it properly. and it will notify you that, okay, you've got this issue is pending and you should be addressing it in this way, just to make sure that you're using it properly and getting the full value from it. And then a second one, one that I think I'm most excited about, to be honest, is it's an optional button essentially to share your financials with pre-qualified lenders. So SMEs who are digitizing their operations and their business and will have the option to click to share anonymized data with pre-qualified lenders, and then if it looks good, then from the lender's perspective, then they'll request to get in touch. So it's everything around it. It's not just the functionality, it's the whole different kind of ecosystem. We're making that as interoperable and as open source as we can.
Great. I'm just gonna get back to Miriam's question. So Miriam, your question was account. So that went automatically because on my product for green coffee, I say if I sell green coffee, I want it to go to coffee sales and the cost of green coffee to the cost of coffee. So since I defined that already on the product, it automatically picks that.
Okay, yep, great. I guess that answered your question there, Miriam. Yeah, very good. Do you see that one from Urbanus, Dawa?
Yeah, so I think I think quality, there are two elements here. So you could set up a quality control to, how do I say, to essentially log something about the quality you're receiving. And so you can say, hey, it has this quality or this range, and does it fit, yes or no? But then it doesn't really change something about the product. The second one is related to the previous question of Simon, is that you could set up, for example, product variants. So what you could do, for example, is let me just go here, product, we can coffee, and then we can have green coffee, we can create variants. So let me see. So let's say grade, and then we have value A, and value B, and value C. So what we now have, essentially, we have one green coffee product, but it has now 3 flavors. So if I go to the variant itself, I have coffee here. So I have green coffee A, B, or C. And as you see, these can have different prices and costs. So then in that sense, you are still always working with coffee, but within that, you can specify the different grades and keep them together and have different sales and cost prices for them. So that would be the same for soybeans, that you can either put it as informative on something, or you can create a special product structure for that. Question, Peter, hardware sale. Yeah, so that hardware, so a hardware sale is in that sense is the same as selling products or things like that. So what you can define is a payment plan, for example, where you say this payment plan is in 6 monthly installments. So when you sell the hardware, you then enable that payment plan, and then it's broken up in these 6 elements. And you also have flexibility over the allocation of the in-kind. So what you, for example, could say is they owe you, let's say they owe you 60,000 for the hardware, and you buy 50,000 of products for them. That you say, hey, of this 50,000, I apply 10,000 to the hardware instead of everything, and the balance I pay out. So that you can essentially slowly, so you don't have to do the in-kind in one, you can also do it slowly over time. So every time they deliver something to you, you knock off a little bit, and all those knockoffs will be nicely visible on their invoice, on their sale order. So you also always know the balance that they have and where they are. Yeah, and then number 2 is essentially what I just showed with the coffee, with the grades. So it's very easily to turn incoming products into other products. There's even automation. So for example, you can see if you have product B, and we said, hey, product B is always a manufactured product. And that essentially when you sell product B, it sees it's a manufactured product. It automatically triggers a manufacturing order with product A in there. And if you have enough stock of product A, you just confirm it and it goes out. Otherwise, you have to buy new of product A. And we can also specify everything in bags or in different units of measure. So converting something from A into B and then selling it, it's just setting up a manufacturing order, or first a bill of material, and then running this manufacturing order.
Did you want to follow up with, or Peter has another question there? If you take that, then I'll answer Songbay in a moment.
Yeah. So for example, with lettuce, I think it's also a nice example, is you can also have these different steps. So you can order and you can back, and you can also manufacture and then have byproducts. So for example, that you have 100 kg comes in, 80 comes out, and then you have 20 byproduct. But it's also the conversion you can do on the receipt. So this last question of Peter, it does require a little bit of tinkering, but it is absolutely possible to pay. We did so as Advanced Insight. We normally do all these big commercial or do implementations, but we did done some for avocado also, where we essentially exactly had this setup also, where the farmers get paid for the good quality avocados. So they deliver everything, and then only they get paid, and that structure is available. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, for Songbay, the pilot is still ongoing, where we're working with about 12 early adopters in 6 African countries now. So we're on schedule when we would have rather release AgriOS about 2-3 weeks back, but we had a few things to polish off, and now we've got it on GitHub under a very permissible open source license. General feedback is people like 1.1, people like the business model behind it or the philosophy behind it, and that it's open source, you can control your own data, there's no subscriptions, and that's enabling them to build their own mission critical infrastructure on it, and they can take a comfort in that, knowing that they won't be locked out of it or needing to pay in the longer term. There was also a few more specific ones in that, plenty of them are moving from spreadsheets and paper-based systems to an ERP, and just the time saving that's going to allow, especially around input offtake reconciliation. Plenty of them were taking a decent amount of time, and here that's built in automatically. The access to finance option is a very attractive one, I think. I think that's one that'll probably be getting us a nice bit of adoption there, because everybody essentially benefits from that one. The lenders have capital to deploy, and they're looking for eligible SMEs. SMEs are looking for capital, but sometimes find it hard to prove how appropriate they are to be able to receive some of that financing. So I think that would be and then the final one would be for those who would be using like QuickBooks or another just straightforward accounting system. That doesn't work in cases where the farmer is both the supplier and a customer, depending on the point in the season. So I think with AgriOS, the farmer can be both, especially in the accounting side. So that makes it a lot easier.
And I think one other like technical aspect is that, yes, it is available. So essentially everyone who wants to set it up can set it up. All the code is there, but it is not, if it would have been a SaaS, like monthly price solution, it's where you press a button and you have everything. So because it is open source, everybody can set it up. It comes essentially at the cost that you do need some technical expertise to set it up. However, we at our end, we have a full, like almost automated deployment system where we at some point want to you go to our website, you say, hey, I do cocoa in Ghana, these regions, I have so many farmers. You press a button and we set up like a first database for you, standardized with all that context, with the Ghana taxes, all those kinds of things. But we still need to figure out also how we can easily do that and where do we host it. And of course, the whole system is free. It's open source, you can install it. There is some cost for hosting. So I think that's still something we're also figuring out, how to easily deploy it and also make it easily accessible to be deployed across all these different organizations. But for the rest, it's permitting now. We're making a lot of changes where we're adding new features. All the feedback that comes in from the early adopters, we're now picking up. But it's there.
Yeah, for us, we're trying to balance out what gets a scale and what do the users want, and what is generic enough in a way that's simple for the users to use, but enough to cover their business needs. Anybody else have any other questions there, even around the wider philosophy or use cases around it? Like we say, it's available. We're onboarding a few new organizations now. So if you're interested in this, feel free to reach out to me. Anybody who wants to use it themselves, go to the GitHub, start playing about with it. Don't even need to tell us. You're entirely free there. Even if you want to start monetizing it yourself as well, feel free to do that. We're also quite supportive of that. So if you are doing that and you'd be happy to talk to us, let us know. We'll support you how we can.
We could still use some early adapters who we then can also help with setting it all up and the deployment and things like that. I think we still have a few spots available. So if you're interested in organizations, reach out to Bernard.
Okay, yeah,
Great.
so I think that might be it. If you have anything else, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be putting this webinar on, the recording online and the transcript, so you can feel free to throw it at ChatGPT and ask any questions you want of it. Yeah, good to talk. Thanks for the questions. Follow us on LinkedIn, and yeah, if you're up for partnering on anything, let us know. We're always collaboration first.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Bye, folks.
Have a nice day. Cheers.
Have a good one.